I hope that medical benefit will continue to help the nationals, residents, and citizens of Antigua and Barbuda. It's a great thing.
I think the medical benefit scheme is an excellent medical program in Antigua and Barbuda.
When I go to medical benefit, it's like I'm visiting one of my family.
Medical benefit is one of the best things that has ever happened to the nation of Antigua and Barbuda in terms of health care.
MBS is your partner in health.
The Medical Benefit Scheme, 35 years and beyond.
When this scheme started, I was actually an employee at Selkridge Insurance at High Street. And I was approached by Mr. Warner. He came to my home, I think it was a Thursday, and told me that there was an office opening and if I wanted a job. So I said yes. And by the Friday, I put in my resignation. And I was at medical benefits the next week, and I'm still here.
Well, we started in the Hadid building on Redcliffe Street on the ground floor. And the first day I came, which was the 1st of July 1979, it was myself and 3 other employees. And we had to go to Social Security office, which was upstairs, for days where we started to gather our database. So that first day, it was a bit lonely because it was only 4 persons, but it was still a fruitful day.
There were some employees on the upstairs of the building doing some medical benefits work. The upstairs of the building was Social Security. And so while the scheme started, the Act of 1978, is in October 78, there were persons who were working there, and the actual situation was there was a cashier. She was responsible to collect the funds that belonged to medical benefits from October of 78. So we actually have receipts in the organization dated October, 1st of October 1978.
As time progressed, they saw what was happening and they embraced it. Because you could go to the pharmacy, you pay your money and you come in to medical benefit and you get a refund. Medical benefits is unique. There is no other organization like it in the world. Other persons in other countries came to Antigua actually to study. How is it that they were able to get something like this done? They might have similar programs, but none of them is like medical benefits.
What we were doing then was to take the Social Security information on employees and employers and making note of it, because we were going to need that information to continue whatever medical was all about. And so the first months, we're just assembling information, pulling from some Social Security record to make our own. I can remember Liat, along with the names, and so we know at that time who Liat employed, and we were going to need it afterwards again. As I said, I don't know what it was for then, but as you proceed in the organization, you realize what you were looking for. And because we were only clerks doing that, later on, there was some men that came into the organization, and at the time, and they still do up to now, known as invigilators. And these are the guys who are going to be going back to the very Liat to ascertain the persons who are working there and to try and get them registered now with medical benefits, because at that time you only had registration for Social Security.
It was to help persons in the community who could not afford the medication. We were then looking at how to deal with refunding their prescriptions, and then it moved from prescription to lab and other tests. But first it was mostly for those persons who found it hard to purchase their medication.
It was said then that medical benefits was for the benefit of the aged. And so you don't have to you have to be working to contribute, and you don't have to be working to benefit. And at that time, have to be working meant a person of senior age. And so those persons who were working, I think, expressed some dissatisfaction, paying, and they're not benefiting, while persons were saying to them, you might not be benefiting, but somebody from your family will be benefiting, and maybe you will come to benefit. So again, it was an insurance concept, but was not fully embraced. And yes, you had people complied because it was law to do so. I believe over time it has grown to be accepted, because persons of my age who are working, who don't have diabetes, don't have hypertension, can come and claim, because there's a part in the law that speaks to hospitalization, speaks to x-rays, surgery, and what have you. And you don't have to be aged to have a surgery, nor be hospitalized. The biggest thing in my mind that happened to medical benefits is the birth of the pharmacy. Prior to having the pharmacy, persons used to go to the doctor, then they go to the drugstore to get their medication, prescription filled, and they brought them to medical benefits, and we refund them based upon regulations. The birth of the pharmacy took the pressure, the burden of a person who might not have had the cash at the same time to go and get the drug to exchange for payment afterwards. And so a person could and can come to the organization with their prescription and get the medication doctor prescribed. We not only had a pharmacy, we branched out into various aspects of Antigua, and various communities were blessed with the presence of a public clinic, and in some areas, medical benefits scheme capitalized on that by putting a room or two rooms together to create an area for dispensing. And so we have pharmacies in the clinics. So I would say that's one of medical benefits' best and greatest things, as well as being able to finance certain healthcare facilities and equipment on behalf of the Ministry of Health, because the revised Act and Regulation speaks to medical benefits as an entity to provide financial assistance to healthcare facilities and to some healthcare services in Antigua Barbuda.
The medical benefits pharmacy started somewhere back in August 1990. I think the first prescription was dispensed probably about the 1st or the 3rd of September to the actual patient, 1990. Kudos to the late, great Sir Adolphus Freeland, who conceptualized along with his constituents the whole medical benefits having a pharmacy for itself. So they were the pioneers, and 1990 came on stream. And in those days, the prescriptions were particularly for high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, mental illness, sickle cell anemia, glaucoma, cardiovascular disease, and leprosy. It were 8 diseases. In 1994, asthma was added. So medications for this, like the old Aldomet, iron tablets, many of the older drugs, diabetes and so forth, those were the drugs that were being used and used very often then. When we started out, it was just a small unit where I could just reach, at any angle and retrieve the pharmaceutical from the shelves. Now we have grown from one single unit in the administrative building to, a pharmacy complex on Nevis Street. We also have a brand spanking unit at Clay Hall, similar unit at Browns Avenue, and we utilize spaces with the government in All Saints, Johnson's Point, and Grace Farm. So overall, we have 6 units, and of course, the communities, persons living in those particular areas are serviced much better. And also, we should add that those in the in the countryside, they not only carry the medical benefit drugs, but they also carry drugs from the central stores. So other than the pressure, if you have infection, antibiotic, cough and cold medication, you can access those medication from the medical benefits pharmacy in the countryside.
The prevention unit is a unit that I think is very vital to medical benefits, and it has grown in leaps and bounds, and we are progressing quite smoothly, and for 2015 we're expecting to do a lot of great things for the nation.
I never became aware of how important the scheme was or how significant the scheme was until a few years ago. I was in Tokyo and my medication ran out and I had to go and fill a prescription at an international pharmacy in Tokyo, and I paid for 10 days supply of my hypertensive medication, and at that time it cost me $308 US for 10 days supply of something that I get in Antigua for free. And I think that's when it hit home to me how significant the medical benefit scheme is for a lot of Antigua and Barbuda.
When I came on board, I think one of the main focus then was image building. And the superintendent, who eventually became the CEO at that time, was saying, everything we need to do, everything we do in terms of communication, marketing, and public relations, it has to do with our image building. So we were on a campaign and have been in a continuous campaign to build our image, to ensure that we have a strong image out there in the community. Image which says that MBS, we care. MBS is your partner in health. And so we've just been focused on that. Of course, we know MBS does a little bit more than just health, more than just your medication, more than just prevention.
I'm a beneficiary of the medical benefit scheme now for many years. I think I became more engaged and benefited a lot more from the medical benefit scheme when I was diagnosed a number of years ago as being hypertensive. And as a result of that, I started going to the scheme to collect my monthly medication. And in that way, I can say that I'm a beneficiary from the medical benefit scheme. But as most Antiguans are aware, my children are beneficiaries of the medical scheme. My mother, my sisters, my wife and all family members are beneficiary of the medical benefit scheme, because when we go to Mount St. John or before Mount St. John, when we go to Halberton Hospital, because you're a beneficiary or because you pay medical benefits, you get subsidized medical services. So